She whispered, "Put it in my mouth." The rancher saved her, then lost everything for it. The storm came fast, so fast that even the cattle seemed startled by how suddenly the sky split open. Lightning cracked over the Montana plains, and in the middle of that empty stretch of land, rancher Luke Harwood saw something that made his heart stop. A woman, soaked, shivering, and stumbling, was trying to wave down his truck before collapsing in the mud. Luke slammed the brakes and jumped out. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Her lips trembled. She tried to speak but no words came, only a desperate whisper as she pressed a small, crushed paper packet into his hand. "Pete put it in my mouth. Salt, electrolytes, a survival packet." She wasn't asking for anything indecent. She needed help. She needed it now. Luke tore the packet open and lifted her gently, letting the powder dissolve onto her tongue as she weakly swallowed. Her skin was burning, her clothes torn, and her eyes unfocused, signs of dehydration and concussion. "That's it," he whispered. "Stay with me." And in that moment, though he didn't know her name yet, Luke silently promised he wouldn't let her die. Chapter 1, The Woman from the Storm. Her name was Clara Vance. When she finally woke up hours later in Luke's ranch house, wrapped in a quilt and lying near a crackling fire, her first words were filled with confusion and fear. "Where am I? My brother, where's my brother?" Luke sat beside her, hat in hand. "You're safe. I found you on the back road. You were in bad shape. But, your brother wasn't with you." She swallowed hard, memories flickering painfully. Clara and her younger brother, Evan, had been driving cross-country to escape the man who'd taken everything from them: their father's business, their home, their sense of safety. Clara had agreed to testify against him after discovering his financial crimes. But when he found out, he'd sent men after them. Their vehicle had been forced off the road. Clara remembered Evan dragging her from the shattered truck. She remembered running. She remembered lightning. But she didn't remember losing him. Luke felt a stab in his chest. "I'll help you find him," he said. "You have my word." Clara's eyes filled. "Why would you do that?" He shrugged. "Because someone needs to." Chapter 2, A Rancher's Heart. Luke's life hadn't been easy either. 3 years earlier, he'd lost his ranch foreman, his father, to a sudden heart attack. The ranch had been drowning in debt ever since. And Luke had been drowning in the quiet kind of loneliness that settles in a man's bones when he spends too many nights talking only to cattle and old photographs. Helping Clara awakened something in him, a sense of purpose he hadn't felt since his father's last ride across the fields. Day by day, Clara regained strength. Day by day, she and Luke grew closer. She helped in the kitchen. He taught her how to feed the horses. She discovered his gentle humor, his careful way of speaking, his honesty. And he discovered something about her, too. Clara was stronger than the men who hunted her. Stronger than the fear she carried. Stronger than she gave herself credit for. One evening, as the sun dipped orange behind the hills, Clara watched Luke repairing a fence alone. "You take on everything by yourself," she said softly. Luke wiped sweat from his brow. "Someone has to. You don't always have to be strong," she whispered. He paused. "Maybe I don't. Not with you." Chapter 3, When Danger Found Them. It happened on a quiet morning. Clara was feeding the horses when a black SUV pulled up the dirt road. Luke stepped outside, jaw tightening. 2 men in suits stepped out. "Clara Vance," one said, flashing a badge. "We're with federal enforcement. We have reason to believe you're withholding evidence and are in contact with wanted individuals." Clara froze. "That's not true. I left everything behind." Luke stepped protectively in front of her. "She's not hiding from the law. She's hiding from criminals." But the men didn't listen. They searched the property. They questioned Clara for hours. And by evening, they took her away, for further processing, despite Luke's protests. She looked back at Luke through the car window, fear shining in her eyes. "Don't let them twist the truth," she pleaded. And then she was gone. Chapter 4, The Cost of Doing Right. Luke could have ignored it. He could have let the law handle things. He could have avoided making enemies. Instead, he drove straight to town, demanded answers, and burst into a meeting with the district director. What he uncovered shattered everything. Clara's father had bought off officials, had manipulated files and planted false accusations. And now Clara was being framed not just for fleeing, but for fraud. Luke slammed both hands on the desk. "She's the victim. You're helping the man who tried to kill her. The director narrowed his eyes. You accuse us of corruption. Then we'll open an investigation into you as well. And they did. Within a week, Luke's accounts were frozen. His ranch operations were shut down. His cattle auction was cancelled. And foreclosure papers were nailed to his front gate. All because he'd fought for Clara. He lost everything, just as she once had. Chapter 5, Love Brings Courage. Clara was eventually released after a second evaluator noticed inconsistencies. She returned to Luke's ranch only to find him sitting on the porch, defeated, the place eerily silent. Luke, what happened? He tried to smile. Guess I made the wrong people angry. She sank beside him, taking his rough hand in hers. You did it for me. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe, she whispered, voice trembling, you're the first person who ever believed me. And I don't care what you lost, I'm not walking away. Tears gathered in Luke's eyes. He'd held everything in for months, until now. Clara, I don't know how to start over. She touched his cheek. Then start with me. Chapter 6, A Testimony of Truth. Together, they fought back. Clara testified, loudly, bravely, truthfully. Luke provided every document, every witness, every scrap of evidence showing her father's criminal reach. The corrupt officials were removed. Her father was arrested. And Clara's brother was found alive, injured but safe, taken in by a rural search team that night of the storm. Justice came slowly, but it came. And when Clara stood with Luke in the courtroom hallway after the verdict, she squeezed his hand. You saved me, she said. And you lost everything for it. Luke smiled faintly. It was worth it. She leaned closer. No, it wasn't enough. Now it's my turn. Epilogue, a new beginning. With settlement money and compensation from the overturned investigation, Clara bought back Luke's ranch in his name. She rebuilt the barns, restored the land, and insisted on doing it with him, side by side, sunrise after sunrise. One evening, as they leaned against the pasture fence watching the horses graze, Clara rested her head on his shoulder. You once saved my life, she whispered. And now, you're my life. Luke kissed the top of her head. The storm had brought them together. Loss had bound them. And love, quiet, patient, resilient, had rebuilt everything that had been taken. A message remained. Sometimes doing the right thing costs everything you have. But sometimes, it gives you everything you ever needed.